that just happened spring of this year.
So you may not be able to answer this, but regular lay people, a farmer say, would he know or she know how to do a freedom of information, know enough to A, ask for it in the freedom of information, B, file that, and C, would they be charged for that freedom of information cost from the agency? I know they are charged from the federal agency.
Yeah, I haven't, my personal experience, I haven't been charged. They'll send me one or two CDs. They haven't charged me for that. So I know at the state I haven't been charged. I've also done Freedom of Information Acts with the Mahoney County Board of Elections, and they haven't charged me. So my personal experience, I haven't been charged for these. As far as a farmer, I'll defer to Joe in terms of his feelings in terms of that. It's not that hard, but you do need somebody. You know, Teresa Mills educated me on how to do it initially, so the people need to be educated on how to do it, and unfortunately, we have to do it. We have to be the watch guards because our sort of, state watch guards are not doing the job.
Yeah, I wasn't picking on the farmers. I was just saying a lay person. And
okay.
Many of these are in rural communities where there is farm families who are farming. I just meant
people don't think about this, but unfortunately they have to.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Go ahead. Oh, okay. Anyway, thank you for your remarks, and of course, I am going to ask you that. Do you feel it's the responsibility of a publicly funded university to be a leader in opening discussions on this thing?
Yes, I do. Particularly my university, one of our, we have our missions and goals, and one of our environmental sustainability is one of our university goals. And so I've been running a lecture series in support of that part of our mission. But I personally don't think that my university is doing enough. In many cases, it's just me. Also, I detailed in my paper some of the hostile work environment. In many ways, we're doing the opposite of what we should be doing.
Yes. And do you think that we could, apart from just a publicly funded university, and I'm thinking of Tim Reardon's remarks on rights, then any university or any school, does this fall under the umbrella of the responsibilities of intellectuals, as Noam Chomsky would say? In other words, yes, good.
Unfortunately, this current trend of anti-intellectualism is even extending into our higher education.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doctor. Your comments about captive agency is a sadly familiar concept, but I would tend to agree with your analysis on that. My question regarding that, have you or are you aware of any initiative to convert this system of agency rules into statutory language? In other words, have you spoken to a legislator about actually legislating a requirement that if the agency has rules that they are to abide by, they violate those rules, that they will be made into statutory language? I
personally haven't done that. Our legislature, both the House, Senate, and governor are all run by one party. They took away local control back in 2004, even before the energy bill and the Halliburton loophole in 2005. I've been promoting a different approach, which is the community rights approach, saying that local communities have the right to ban these hazardous things. And in fact, I've been working with the Youngstown community rights community to get a fracking and injection well ban on the ballot. We're suffering because the oil and gas industry, outside money, outspends the environmentalists 50-1 to mislead people that fracking is safe, which it isn't, and that these earthquakes are not causing damage, which they are. And unfortunately, practically everyone locally, both the Republican and Democratic Party, the mayor, the city council, in addition to the Chamber of Commerce, are all in opposition of the citizens exerting direct governance and keeping these hazardous industries out of our community. This is not just an academic thing for me, because I live in a brick house. I live in a 3-story brick house. Brick house, they call them unreinforced concrete masonry. They are in danger of collapsing due to earthquakes. I already have some new cracks in some of my walls, including rooms that we renovated, prior to this activity. It's difficult to prove a causality in that particular case, but many people in the community have told me they've got new cracks that happened. After the Poland earthquake, one of my students, his girlfriend, sent me pictures of a brand new renovated room that had brand new cracks in it.
Well, I would empathize with your plight in that regard, and I would also hasten to applaud you for your aggressiveness in terms of your official information requests. And just FYI, the Farmers Union and the Ohio Environmental Council have both been very active in engaging community members to work them through this process so that can be a more widely known process, and I think that's going to be essential.
Yeah, and
Thank
the result of that is that the ODNR has admitted in writing that they're not even following their own rules and regulations. Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thanks.
So first, please state your name, your city, and your
Chuck
state.
Marinelli, North Jackson, Ohio.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our well, we have a 300-foot well, deep well. And if you look at this, this is Blott Road here, and this is where the well site is located. Our house is down straight through, so it's straight through is where you'd find our house. It's about 0.8 of a mile, almost a mile. According to them, they drill. They're supposed to go north, west, up and through this direction. But around, let's see, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was about, the year was 2014. I didn't take any logs on it, unfortunately. But at that time, I was awakened about 1 o'clock in the morning. I could see their well site down there. I could see the fire coming up. So I knew they were still in operation. So I hear all this grinding and pounding underneath our house. Now the well's down 300 feet. They go down 6,000 feet, so I didn't know how that could be. But you could hear it coming up. It must have lasted for an hour, maybe an hour and a half or something like that. I went back to bed. Next morning, there's no problem, except somewhere in the afternoon, when the water pumped up, it pumped up a bunch of mud. That's why I got mud over here. I started taking samples. And then it quieted down. I mean, it would come off and on, it would happen. And then after about, a month or so, that would be off and on, just a little bit. It settled down, and then on 2016, on the 14th of May, our house shook. And when the house shook, I thought, what was going on with this thing? It was about noon. The next day, 2 days later, 2016, the water pumped up. It was pure like tomato sauce, thick tomato sauce, and I got pictures so you can see it. Maybe I can have some prints made up or something like that, because you could look at this thing. And it just pumped out, and I pumped out hours of that stuff. I probably pumped out 600 gallons, I figured, because it's 10 gallons per minute. So I was pumping that stuff out. I couldn't get it out of there. I kept on pumping it. We kept buying bottled water, And it kept pumping out. And then finally, I'd get down to the orange. That was pretty good if I got the orange, like tang, Then I got down a little bit later, and it happened for months, maybe four months or something like that. And then after that, I finally get a little bit of clear water. Well, according to some of these water guys, there's 2 aquifers running underneath that area. There's the Little Indian and the Big Indian. We were down 300 feet into the Big Indian, which is good alkaline. It was alkaline water. The pH was around 8.5, something like that. I got all the readings for it. I got water samples prior to them drilling and water samples after they drilled. Had them tested by Cardinal Labs. And the iron content would change dramatically. Our water's acid now instead of alkaline. It's red. We got all that red junk coming up. And according to the according to the numbers here is 210 micrograms, and it's changed from 210 micrograms. The health department says 2,000 micrograms is the highest they've ever seen. A water softener will take out, I think, 50 micrograms or something like that. Ours is 147,000. Overnight, it popped out like that. Now, we don't know what happened. Something fractured under there overnight like that. I don't know if it's in a vein of iron or what, but that was, like I said, you could hear the house rumble with it. Now, down in Wesley Avenue, we have another house down on Wesley Avenue on the west side of Youngstown. My wife was down there, and she swore at that time somebody crashed into the house with a car. The wall split across the ceiling. I had to patch it all up. And they said it was because of a well. That well down at Salt Springs Road had something that caused an earthquake. So that's a true thing, I'll tell you that. But anyhow, so I called Cardinal Labs, not Cardinal, but Consul. They said that they would send a guy out, or they said first what we're going to have to do is go, ODNR is going to have to come out and drop a camera down. We're going to have to pull the pump up. I don't know what that's going to cost. We put $3,700 in a new pump, just 2012, August 1st, and it was $3,700. It's a German pump, a special pump we dropped down there. So we're going to pull that pump and see they're going to drop a camera down. So I don't know if it's going to be sheared off or what the story is. That's about the story. Like I said, I can show you all these water samples.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marinelli.
Did I cover it all, Judith? She's my right hand.
Just for clarification, you
Yes.
say that there is a wellhead that's about 0.8 of a mile
Yes, sir.
away from your home.
Yes, sir.
And these sounds that you were hearing coming from under the house, the
Yes.
rumbling, the rattling, whatever the noises were,
Yes.
this was occurring during the time that this fracking well was being drilled. Is that the case?
I would say it happened 2 weeks before they shut the well head down, because the fire was still coming up. And that
So-
was the last time we've ever heard anything. And then 2 weeks later, the well, so if I could find out when the well was shut down, I'd know pretty much the exact time. Well, pretty close, within 2 weeks.
So just for my clarification, the
Sure.
well was drilled, then the well was fracked, and then thereafter was when you heard the
Grinding.
yeah, the grinding.
All I know is the well was up. I don't know when that well started. I couldn't tell you. Maybe, I don't know how long they do that, a year maybe prior to or something, doing this grinding with, channeling out with the bits and all that stuff. I don't know what that was. I don't know if it's a fracking well. Dr. Ray would know more about that.
You said you could see flame. Does that
But I
mean
could
that
see
they
the
were
flame.
flaring?
Yes, they were burning
Flaring
off the gas.
Okay.
Mhm.
Would have been already. All right, that
Except-
helps me.
Yeah, I don't know how that could come. I don't know. It's like they came up with that bit and ground into the casing. This is 300 feet, but they're 6,000 feet. So I couldn't understand. I said, is it coming up through the stratus or what? I had no idea.
Okay, well, that helps me understand.
So, just another question about your second house. You said
sorry,
that
dear. Oh.
the second home, you said that your wife was saying
Oh, yes,
something
that-
hit the,
down on Wesley Avenue, yes.
and you had the crack that went up your wall and across the ceiling. Did anybody compensate you for that? Did anyone?
No, I just went down and plastered it up, and other people complained about their wells. Somebody, about the cracks, and they said, somebody went to the well company or did something, but nothing ever was done about it. I just patched it up and forgot about it,
But you believe it was related to the earthquake?
Oh, yeah, they admitted there was an earthquake.
Oh, they
And they
did?
admitted it was from that well, and they shut it down. That well is down on Salt Springs Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they admitted that. It's got to be hard to live in a house where you're pumping water, trying to get it from spaghetti sauce
I know.
to tang, to then clear, to then not drinkable
Back again.
anyhow, right?
Yes.
I mean, how much did that wear on you? Not just physically and financially, but emotionally. I mean, that's your well, and you dug that well a long time ago, and you put your special German pump in there,
Definitely.
and went out and got that special German pump, and
Definitely.
had wonderful clean water. So,
Now we got this.
and now you have this. I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, and your wife, you know?
Well, we're
It's got to be a
upset.
hard place to live.
Yeah, we're upset about it because I'm pumping out probably 200 to 400 gallons a day I have to pump out in order to get some clear water. Once I get the clear water, that's when the clothes are washed. Now it's going through filtering systems. I got a big elaborate filtering system. I've got this Catalox filter from Germany. It's one of the best. It's 3 microns. We go up through a 5-foot tank. It's on timers, but I go down and do it manually because we can't depend on timers. I got to watch the water and pump it out. So it runs in from the well, goes through a drop-down filter, which I had to take out because it plugged right up. Comes up, goes into the Catalox, goes through the Catalox, goes through a granulated carbon filter, comes out of the carbon filter. I made these other filters up. I have 8 filter slots, and I put 7 filters in it. These are 1 micron filters to get it through. It still goes upstairs. It gets through all these filters. You can see these filters. Oh, you got them? Oh, there's the pictures. Here's the pictures here. Of all that's the extra filters that we run it through. Then it goes up into the RO system, and the RO system can't take it out. It takes a certain amount out, but it's still in there. So we have to put a deionizing filter in next. So we're pumping this stuff out every day. We're going through this whole rigmarole and changing these filters, which come to about $40 to $60 every 10 days or something like that. And the Catalox filtering system should last 7 years. That's a good German system. It's just about exhausted, and it's only been in, I think I just hit about a little bit over a year. And it's just about wiped out. Now I'm back flushing constantly. I'll back flush maybe 2 or 3 times a day, both filtering systems. The other ones I can't back flush. I have to take them out and exchange them.
So you do that in order for you to be able to do laundry and bathe? Do you bathe in that water as well?
Actually,
Sorry about that.
white, but with this water, it has turned yellow. I mean, that's the truth. I don't have to dye my hair.
Cheap blonde, that's why.
So this is your wife? I just want to introduce you to the tribunal so that we can,
This is Judith Marinelli.
we can't
my
take
wife.
comments from the audience, so we have to introduce you and make you part of the tribunal. So welcome. And your hair doesn't look that yellow, but I understand what you're saying is one woman to another.
Here's the water
I
from
was living at the house when, because we were renovating, and I was at the house. And I had lived in California, and I had lived through some, earthquakes there. This one actually was so severe that it made me nervous inside and shook. I got really upset, and that's when then we found out what it was, because we didn't understand at that time what caused that earthquake.
But they admitted it.
But they,
Okay, thank you.
Here's the water prior to, straight well water. And here's the granules that come up. They're magnetic. I mean, I caught them with I put a magnet in there, so it's like there's pieces just kept coming up, and you can see it's all magnet. So
Wow.